Alrighty, I'm getting the thumbs up from the sound booth, so if y'all want to come in and find a seat real quick, we'll get the program started, because we are right on time for starting. All right, so good morning and welcome to Kansas City Oasis. My name is Kyle DeRhodes. I'm going to be your MC today. I'm pleased to welcome those here in person in our community center, as well as those joining us online via Facebook or YouTube. To Kansas City Oasis, since 2014, Oasis has been the premier secular alternative to the faith-based communities. We welcome all regardless, there we go, tough word in the morning, of beliefs or non-belief, race, gender, sexual orientation, identity, or any other identifying trait. We feel the human experience is better when it is shared, and we're very pleased that you've chosen to share it with us today. So, let's see here, we've got our mission statement. So the Oasis mission statement is to educate members in the values of humanism, provide social support to the community, produce educational programs for the general public, and to engage in acts of charitable service. So there's that. And today we've got a little bit of a different program. We're actually not going to do a community moment. Ron's going to do like a two-part thing, but our featured speaker is going to be Ruhnke about boys, men, manhood, and masculinity. That's going to be really good, I have a feeling. And then Cashel Fox is going, Fox FitzGibbons, sorry, is our musical guest, and I believe we are going to bring him up here momentarily. So, real quick, Cashel is an artist, guitarist, and singer-songwriter for over a decade. His music is primarily available to listen to late night in his bedroom, occasionally on the street corners, and at your local bar district. But publicly, there are some melody snippets and covers posted on his Instagram, TikTok, so please give him, I think this is his first time playing here, so give him a warm Oasis welcome. I can't wait to hear from Cashel.
It's Cashel, by the way. Thank you all for coming. So good to see all of you. I want to thank Kyle for introducing and emceeing today. Also want to thank Jason for kind of setting all this up. And most importantly, I want to thank all of you for coming. This is a very beautiful community I just discovered a few weeks ago. Yeah, I don't know. First song I'm going to be doing is going to be pretty much instrumental. After that, I will be singing for the rest of the time. I think I'm doing 2 right now, but let's go ahead and just hop into it. I think I usually call this one Springtime, but without words, it's really arbitrary. Thank you. Kind of a song about hope. I used to call it Looking Up, although I think I might be changing the name to, what is it, Undeterred? It don't matter. none of this matters. That might sound a little similar, but... That's enough. Life gets really rough. Ain't even close to empty from love to mourn. Still I couldn't ask for more while I play these chords. So hear these words, keep on living undeterred. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we will have them up for a few more songs coming up, but more importantly, we've got some birthdays today. Julie Mashler, which I don't think I saw her somewhere. Okay, never mind, but give her a round of applause. October 6th, Brittany Rhodes, also October 6th. Wow, can't say that today. Tammy Parsons, and we've got some anniversaries as well, so happy anniversary to Jennifer and Bill Barnes and Sarah and Jeff Nassell. So if you see them around, give them a congratulations. All right, so those who receive email newsletters got a glimpse of this. We didn't put it up last week, or else she would have been the person presenting it, which is probably a little awkward. So let's give a large round of applause for our volunteer of the week, Julie Manning. Totally deserved applause, especially if you know her. But if you know Julie Manning, just look for the most energetic person in the room. True. Julie is not only a board member, but can often be found on our building work days. She's in charge of the MCs, this guy, the teams, the greeter teams, and she also organizes social events. In the past, Julie has set up community groups and community moments. So thank you very much for all that you do, Julie. We love you. And we like to recognize our volunteers. Speaking of, we're always looking for volunteers. So if you want to round out our community a little better and assist with our weekly Sunday gatherings in the lobby, like back by the drink stations and stuff, you'll see some boxes. They're nice shiny purple, I think. So please pick a card up during the coffee break or after a meeting, and you can help with the items that there's a need help box and then like a completed box. So when you're finished, put them in there, and they'll all be done. Blue cards are intended for weekly tasks. White cards are for like monthly volunteers. So if you're going to be more consistent, maybe pick up one of those white cards for us. If you love this community like we do, help keep it going. Volunteers are always welcome. And then let's see here. There are community groups. So there's spots still open in community groups. Raytown area. There's a Friday 6:30 to 8:30. It looks like. Northern Lee Summit. There's a Tuesday group 6 to 8 p.m. Overland Park. There's another group like 6:30, 8:30 p.m. North Kansas City. You can come hang out with. I don't see Dwight now, but Dwight and I at his place on Saturdays from 7 p.m. to ? You got home around midnight, I think. You can also attend more than one if you want to. If you would like more information or would like to jump in and join one, have questions, message Justine or get on our Facebook page and send an email over to justineflick@live.com. Moving on. The Kansas City Recovering from Religion Support Group meets the second Thursday of each month here at the Oasis Community Center. They're going to be meeting this Thursday, October the 9th, from 7 to 9 p.m. You can also attend and remain anonymous if they desire and are not required to tell their story, but everyone is welcome to be there and do so. So if you have any doubts or you're recovering from religion in any way, I would encourage you to check that out. And then our next happy hour is going to be Friday, October 17th at the J. Rieger next door to Knuckleheads. Oh, okay. It's the only distillery around with an actual slide inside. Interesting. All right, I kind of want to see what that's about. And then our next game night is going to be Thursday, the October 23rd. Join us here in the community center from 7 to 9 p.m. Bring your favorite board games, some snacks. Let's roll some dice, shuffle some cards, make some fun, great memories. So be sure to add that to your calendar. And then book club stuff. October's book club book is Deaths on Pleasant Street by, let's see here, Giles Fowler. It covers the 1909 murder case surrounding the wealthy Swope family. Ooh, interesting. So local. Wealthy Swope family, for which many things in Kansas City are named, including Swope Park. The book club is meeting on the last Sunday in October after our Sunday gathering, so probably likely here in the building. And then outdoor Halloween decoration drop-offs. So help us be part of the neighborhood. This Halloween, we'd love to decorate the outside of our beautiful building here. If you have extra outdoor decorations that don't necessarily require electricity or batteries, please feel free to bring them by on our Sunday gathering before the end of October so we can, share with the community our Halloween spirit. I'm sure there's a lot of heathens in here that really love Halloween the way that my wife has made me love Halloween. And then Oasis Halloween Fire Pit on the 31st. Join us Halloween evening, 6 to 9 p.m. Put on your costumes. Ooh, that sounds fun. And bring snacks and a chair, and we will enjoy fire pit in the parking lot and hand out candy to any trick-or-treaters that may happen to come by. So that sounds like a lot of fun. And wow, we've just got a lot of stuff going on. So signing up for our newsletter is a lot to remember and a lot to keep track of. So if you sign up for our newsletter online, I think there's QR codes, all that good stuff. You'll receive our weekly email. You can go to kcoasis.org and look under what's happening for the newsletter sign up, or like I said earlier, scan the QR code and see what's going on. October, we were just talking about on the way over here. It's always crazy busy, so make sure you fill that calendar out now. All right, so a little different, no community moment. We're going to have Ron do kind of a two-parts. So the first part's going to be for our coffee break, and then we'll have our coffee break, and he'll come back up. So our speaker disclaimer: our program is designed to generate conversation and engage our powers of reason, not as a forum to start debates. The following presentation has been prepared by our speaker and not by KC Oasis, so please respect the views of our speaker. And if you have any questions, a Q&A portion will be at the end as time permits. So I'd like to welcome up Ron. Ron is a graduate from Emporia State University, so as a Pitt State alumni, I'm going to shake my fist, I guess. I don't know. With a BSE, majoring in mathematics and German. He taught high school for 3 years in Salina, Kansas. He received his PhD in counseling psychology from the University of Texas in Austin. Most of his professional career was spent working as at a family guidance center for behavioral health care in St. Joseph, Missouri, so up the road a piece, doing therapy and psychological testing. So please give a warm welcome to Ron Ruhnke. He's going to take us through.
Thank you, Kyle. Good morning. I am glad to see you. Boys will be boys. You've heard that? What comes to your mind when you hear that about 7-year-old boys, 17-year-old boys, 27-year-old boys? Probably not something good, because that seems to imply that we boys, whatever age we are, have engaged in something bad. We're rude, crude, delinquent, aggressive, sex-obsessed, ill-mannered. When a guy wins a Nobel Prize, nobody says, well, boys will be boys. But that simple statement is actually one side of kind of the ongoing discussion about masculinity. Is it biologically determined? We simply can't help being boys, originating mainly in hormones and our physiology? Or is it a social construction originating mainly in culture and socialization? Niobe Way is an American psychologist who studied adolescent boys' friendship for 40 years. And she found out that boys will be human. The Danish film Close was nominated for the Best International Feature in 2023. It won the Grand Prix film for Cannes in 2022, and it was inspired by her book, Deep Secrets, Boys' Friendships, and the Crisis of Connection. And she studied adolescent boys developmentally over a series of 3 or 4 years. And what she found was that these boys were intellectually perceptive, intellectually tuned into each other, and in early adolescence, not afraid to express affection. And these boys were from poor and working class families and were of a variety of races. So they weren't the typical white middle class boys. So here she quotes in her book, The Boys, and she quotes Justin as saying, "My best friend and I love each other." You know, that's it. You have this thing that is deep, so deep within you that you just can't explain it. 14-year-old Juan says, "I have two best friends, Willie and Brian. Like sometimes when me and Willie argue, me and Brian are real close. And then when me and Brian aren't doing so good, me and Willie are real close. It's like circles of love. Sometimes we're all close." These are boys saying this, not girls. They also said, without close friends, we would just go wacko, realizing that having close friends are very important to their mental health. So the world of romantic relationships was opening up, but that's another talk. So these boys really wanted to talk about their male friendships in early adolescence. But then there's the boy code. And remarkably, the boy code didn't hit full force for these kids until about mid-adolescence. And even a year later, they were saying, I don't care. It doesn't make any difference. I don't have time for friends. So it was like in 1 year, they just flipped. And sadly, this is also the time when the suicide rate for boys, adolescents, goes up to 4 times that of girls. And if they did mention their continuing friendships, they were sure to add, "No homo, no homo." It'd be hard to overestimate the damage that homophobia does to male friendships. And it really pretty much keeps adolescents and young men and even older men from getting close to one another. So the boy code really is the imposition of this sort of masculinity straitjacket on us. So guys, think about when you were a boy. How were you supposed to be? Anyone? Hello? How were you supposed to be? Just call it out. Tough. How else? Rambunctious. Independent. Unemotional. How were you not supposed to be? Loving. Sensitive. Okay. And what were you supposed to be interested in? Girls? Sports? Cars? What were you not supposed to be interested in? Clothes, art? Barbie? Yeah. Oh yeah, Barbie. Yeah. Okay. Well, as a boy, I wasn't much interested in guns, but I did have a BB gun. But then I was supposed to graduate to a .22 rifle and a .410 shotgun, and I never graduated to that. I wasn't much interested in cars. I wasn't particularly good at fixing things. Things are not looking too good for this boy. But wait, I was athletic. I love sports. I played football. That should count for something. I didn't hang with my mother. I liked toys that boys liked. I built dams in the creek, and I roamed the hills. But damn it, I loved books. A little suspect for a 12-year-old boy. And I was probably what some people would call soft-hearted. My dad had other words for it. But one day, a neighbor was over, and probably we were talking about livestock because my dad sort of saw me soft-hearted around animals. And he just said to the neighbor that I should have been the girl and my sister should have been the boy. That's not something that I really wanted to live with. But the problem, according to Niobe, was not the nature of boys. It was the culture in which we live. Now, for 25 years, I was a member of NOMAS, the National Organization of Men Against Sexism. We were pro-feminist, gay affirmative, anti-racist, anti-classist, and dedicated to enhancing men's lives. And during that time, I was also active in what was called, believe it or not, male liberation. There was a span there of about 25 years where we got a little press about male liberation. And it was about liberating us males from this really heavy-duty socialization that we had undergone. And so the pro-feminist part was addressing patriarchy, ending men's sexism, ending men's violence, and gender equality. So these things were all going on at the same time. And in 1973, the Berkeley Men's Center put out a manifesto. It was a call to move beyond the rigid, restrictive, limiting sex roles. The statement read in part, "We no longer want to strain and compete to live up to an impossible and oppressive masculine image. Strong, silent, cool, handsome, unemotional, successful, master of women, leader of men, wealthy, brilliant, athletic, heavy." You had to be alive at that time to understand. Heavy. We can add, we no longer want to deny pain, deny hurt, deny vulnerability, deny weakness, deny the need for connection with other people. But this normal socialization process in our culture, I think really cuts a lot of us off from vital parts of our humanity, and it can be kind of a cumulative, drip by drip, traumatic experience to come through this. And often then the result is that we are socialized into a performative and somewhat oppressive masculinity. And sadly, we gender police one another to make sure we don't get out of line, that we don't vary from the stereotypes, and we are afraid not to conform. Now, as I said, there was this period of time in the 70s, 80s, and 90s where there was this thing called men's liberation. We had conferences and workshops, and we had newsletters and books and workshops going on in terms of trying to liberate ourselves and really addressing the culture at large. Now, there was a yearly conference, a 4-day conference on men and masculinity, starting in the mid-70s and occurring every year since then except last year. So the conference this year was held in San Antonio in July. And at these conferences, we had affinity groups and consciousness-raising groups and lots of task groups. Here are some of the task groups. On fatherhood, divorce, ending men's violence, and just lots of other topics. Ending sexism, addressing the patriarchy, and so far, and so forth. Whoops, kind of getting ahead of myself here. But these conferences, they were a lot of fun. There were lots of cultural events. There were lots of singer-songwriters that were writing really very, very good songs about social justice. And one of the songs that we liked singing was the Penis Song. Now, that's not a song title that you hear every day. So here are a few verses from the Penis Song. It's my penis, my penis. You see how much has truly come between us. Oh, my penis, my penis. Let's start again and this time be friends. Some say a symbol of power and hate. Some say a weapon to dominate. Nobody smiles when they get that kind of screwed. Lord, how you've been used. We need to talk. A little penis to heart. On the same body, yet so far apart. And even though I'm talking to you, we're really one, not two. Now, just imagine 300 men singing the penis song. It might not be the vagina monologues, but still. We were going to liberate American men. How do you think that turned out? Most American men did not want to be liberated, and maybe did not even quite know what we were talking about. But, change takes time. Change sort of slowly began. More men became interested in fatherhood. More men really looked at their feelings and really moved a little bit towards gender equality. And I'm sorry, Mark, I thought Mark was going to be the MC, and I'm sorry he's not here. Because, now I've already revealed who I'm going to talk about. Because I've heard that there's even a straight man around here who decorates and paints his toenails. Yes. Now, at the same time, I was also participating in the mythopoetic men's movement. And I attended several, just as I was attending men and masculinity conferences around the country, I was also attending Minnesota men's conferences in the Minnesota Northwoods. And the mythopoetic men's movement was basically started by the poet Robert Bly. And it used ancient mythology and poetry to get men in touch with the deep masculine, which the mythopoetic movement believed that men in contemporary culture had lost touch with. As I said, the poet Robert Bly was the central figure in this movement. He died in 2021. But he felt that the Industrial Revolution had led to a decline in fatherhood and had left sons hungering for the absent father, which was not available to guide the son to mature manhood. He believed that the father-son unit was the love unit that was most damaged by the Industrial Revolution. Now, this men's movement, based in part in Jungian psychology, believes that there is a hunger in the male psyche for initiation into manhood. That boys are looking for ways to become men, and in the West, there is no formal rite of passage. There's no formal recognition of manhood. And in the light of that absence, then in modern culture, the adolescent male may turn to drugs and alcohol, cult leaders, nationalism, street gangs, paramilitary groups, serial sexual conquests, or follow online influencers from the manosphere as a path to manhood. And you'll hear a lot about that in the second part. In 1999, Bill Moyers, who recently died, did a PBS special on Robert Bly entitled A Gathering of Men. It brought forth a large response from both men and women, and Bly's book, Iron John, a book about men, was also published in 1990 and spent 60 weeks on the bestseller list. And in October of 1992, Bly did an all-day conference at Avila College here in Kansas City. So Bly used an ancient Grimm Brothers fairy tale as a way of understanding the deep masculine. So in this fairy tale, there's a king and a queen and a kingdom and a forest. And people have been going into this forest and disappearing. And so one day, a hunter shows up at the king's court and says, "Is there anything to do around here?" And the king says, "Well, there's people going into this forest, and they don't come back." And the hunter says, "That's just the thing I'm looking for." And so he gets his dog, and he goes into the forest, and he comes to a pond, and a hand comes out of the pond, jump out of the pond, and grabs the dog. And the hunter says, "This must be the place." So he goes back to the court, and he gets some men. They come back to the pond, and they bucket out to the pond. And what do they find at the bottom of the pond? This rusty, hairy man, Iron John. And they take him back to the court, and they lock him up in a cage. And one day, the king's 8-year-old son was playing with his golden ball, and that ball rolled into the cage. And Iron John says, "If you want this ball back, you have to let me out of the cage." Well, the catch is, the king had given the key to the cage to the queen, and the queen had put it under her pillow. And she's not going to give it back to the boy just by his mere asking. So he waits, and one day the king and queen are gone, and he goes and he gets the key from under the pillow, and he takes it, and he unlocks the cage, and he lets Iron John out. Iron John puts the boy on his shoulders, and they head off into the forest. There's a lot more to this story, but I think you get the picture. So, for you men, if you were immersed in the mythopoetic movement, you would be asked, have you gotten the key from under your mother's pillow, or is it still there? And is this deep masculine Iron John figure still locked inside of you, or have you liberated your own Iron John and you're out in the world living the deep masculine energetically and in a way that empowers you? Now, when I was there were young poets, and this is a poem. A part of a poem is a long poem, but it's part of a poem by Thomas Smith, a young poet, entitled "Men Don't Dance in America." Men don't dance in America. We don't celebrate solstice. We forget about rites. Only the clergy remembers and makes stale processions. We refuse to dance unless we're half in the bag. Then we do it badly and stumble. And I would add, there was a rigid young man who spent 6 hours dancing in front of a campfire, and he said, "Oh, I think I got the piece of the key back from doing that dancing." So, we refuse to dance unless we're half in the bag. Then we do it badly and stumble. But dancing is the library of our bodies. And dancing is the history of our souls. Dancing is immediate, the negation of age. It carries us into our boy joy. It's boy joy, boy joy. It's boy joy, it's joy. It's the sweat lodge, the jungle, and Caribbean nights. It's voodoo and rapture. It's war and it's silence. It's really swimming naked in the sunlight. Dancing is joy. It is joy. And the earth won't deprive men of joy. But men don't dance in America. Men don't dance in America. Men will dance in America. So the next Minnesota Men's Conference, is, interestingly enough, is a 6-day conference that starts this Tuesday. And quote, it's dedicated to embodying what it means to live a life of character, depth, and consequence amid the noise and chaos of our time. Then just briefly, another men's movement, the Christian men's movement. And it's best exemplified by the Promise Keepers. The Promise Keepers was founded in 1990 by Bill McCartney, who was then the head football coach of the University of Colorado. And it's an evangelical Christian parachurch organization, and it has 7 promises for men to keep in the pursuit of a godly manhood. Now, the Promise Keepers in the 90s filled football stadiums across the country with tens of thousands of men, including at Arrowhead here in Kansas City. And in 1997, on the National Mall in Washington, there was a gathering of Promise Keepers of 600 to 800,000 men. I did not join the Promise Keepers. So, what we realize, though we talk about amasculinity, is that there are many masculinities and multiple ways of being a man. And so when we come back after the break, then we're going to jump into the politics that have happened in the last 25 years. So thank you all for your attention, and I'll see you in 20 minutes.
All right, so we will start our coffee break here. Let me get that going. So during the coffee break, be sure to introduce yourself to somebody maybe you've never met before. There's TV screens out there that are going to display some of our upcoming events, and we'll see you back in 20 minutes or so. Blast off. All right. Excellent. So, apologies. Cashel, and I asked him before, and I even said it 1,000 times, and I think I still messed it up. So I'd like Cashel? Cashel. 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 Oh my God. I'm such I represent what Ron's talking about, I believe, today. So I apologize. Real quick, I'd love to ask you a little bit about your musical stylings. You know, what kind of inspires you, what are your influences, and also where can we find you?
I think something that's true with a lot of my cohorts and a lot of people my age are, I listen to a little bit of everything. I think a lot of it gets folded in. I mean, I also play guitar in a punk band. That's not really,
you speak my language.
That's not really the vibe for here, but most of the time it's just me and my acoustic guitar. When I was 18, I moved out to Colorado, spent a lot of time just chasing out. That sounded funny. I like how that sounded, and then from there, a lot of the music will just kind of write itself. It kind of actually brings me to the point I was going to get at for the next song. Of most of my original stuff is kind of sad. I decided to not play that here just because of the nature of this community, but from a lot of like the hardships in life, I think come the most pure meanings that you can find. It's any time I sit down and try to like construct a song with something in mind beforehand, it ends up being okay. But there are just sometimes you'll be really going through it and it just spills out of you. And kind of tapping into that just like really human feeling is something that I deem pretty important. It's also something I kind of find good about this community of like, it feels like there's a lot of value within that experience. I don't have a lot like published right now. I am working on I've been working on an album for the last 6 years, but kind of the pieces are sort of coming together to where might actually be having something published here somewhat soon, but I am on Instagram. I have some snippets posted. I'm also on TikTok. I have a couple songs and some covers posted there if you're interested, but if any like updates that come for like anything actually posted on like Spotify or Bandcamp, that sort of thing, I'll definitely be sure to update that probably on the Instagram.
Yeah, definitely let us know. I knew we were in for a treat for those of us that aren't guitar nerds. I saw it's got a 12-string up here, so that's why one of the reasons why it sounds so beautiful. So I'm going to let you get to it, and I'll get out of the way.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. I also want to thank Ron for having the talk that he had earlier. Also, I'm looking forward to the second half of that. Yeah. That's a conversation that's pretty important to be having right now. Being a young man, I'm 26 this time. It's times are different, and was really a long journey figuring out what masculinity means to me. There's a lot of like just different things that you can slip into. Online communities that promise you something of like, oh, well, you need to do this and this, but really what a lot of it comes down to is just caring for people around you, accepting responsibility for yourself, and defining what that means for yourself. This next song, it's called Miss Joy. A few years ago, I was dating this woman. Her middle name was Joy. Called her Miss Joy. Almost married that woman. I'm really glad that didn't work out in hindsight, but she was really good for me at the time. And during the process of grieving that, I came to find I wrote this, but like just in the last year or so, I've looked at the lyrics and sort of realized that this does just sort of apply towards chasing vices, and it's so easy to find try to find happiness in external sources. Whether it's alcohol or a person or doom scrolling on your phone for too long, but ultimately a lot of that comes from within. Yeah. Miss Troy. I can't seem to understand what you I know you make me feel so I got you just make me feel too and I know I need to make that Miss minus joy, I find that meaning of what it means to me. God, you just make me feel too. And I know that I can make that. With you, it's too easy for me. I seem Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome Ron back up for the second half of his, I guess extended community moments as presentation here. And I apologize, I'm the substitute MC. He was talking about Mark. Had I known, I would have painted my fingernails. So, somebody should have given me a heads up, so sorry about that.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. Hang with me, because I'm going to zip through this. So at the beginning of this century, the sociologist Michael Kimmel, who spoke at many of the conferences I attended, wrote a book entitled Manhood in America, A Cultural History. And what he said was that red and blue America present two different visions of masculinity. So here we are with the politicization of masculinity. Now the go-to guy now is Richard Reeves, after the publication of his book of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why It Matters, and What to Do About It, published in 2022. And he's in various magazines and interviewed by various people. And he also notes that masculinity has been politicized. So what he endeavors to do, and he calls it the left and the right, which was the equivalent of Kimmel's red and blue, is to kind of walk down the middle and says that we can be passionate about women's rights and compassionate towards vulnerable boys and men. And he notes some things that we already know. Boys are not doing as well in school. Girls have a higher graduation rate. And that boys have a slower development in terms of their brain. So he makes the rather controversial suggestion that boys should start school a year later than girls because of their slower brain development. He also recommends male teachers and a massive investment in male-friendly vocational education and training. Some of these stats now are just amazing, that women now earn 60% of graduation degrees. It just flipped 40 or 50 years ago. It was 60 men, 40 women. Now it's just the opposite. That has great implications for economic and social change. In 1972, only 7% of women earned doctoral degrees in dentistry, law, and medicine. That has jumped to 50% in 2019. I mean, that is just an astounding change, and it is wonderful. And yet, on the other side, there's something going on with men that's a bit of a puzzle. That's been called the male malaise or the purpose void. And in general, it's thought to be due to economic change, social change, and cultural lag. The men just haven't caught up yet with the changes in culture. For example, a generous donor in Kalamazoo, Michigan, paid for the tuition for almost any college in the state for high school seniors. Well, anybody that graduated in that city. Women took advantage of it, men not at all. Men are also losing ground in the labor market. Two reasons for this are automation and outsourcing, which Reeves focuses on. But I would also add that the economic system, big corporations and billionaires are keeping wages down really, really low. Adjusted for inflation, most men make around $3,000 less per year now than they did in 1979. Obviously, there's been a great decline in the need for physical strength for jobs. Another recommendation that Reeves makes is that men focus on what he calls HEAL, heal, as opposed to STEM for women. Heal, health, education, administration, and literacy. And yes, those jobs don't pay as much because they've been women's jobs, more enlarged, but they are available. And Reeves thinks there should be a national program to get more men into those jobs. And for non-college educated men, they've been losing well-paying jobs, factory jobs, which leaves them struggling both economically and with their self-esteem. Because earning enough money is kind of a necessary thing to establish yourself in society. And a lot of men are now saying that they don't have enough money to sort of get married and start a family. And for centuries, that's what men did. Got married, started a family, protected and provided for that family. Now, the roles, it's kind of up in the air. Provider and protector, not needed so much in modern culture, and certainly not a necessity in the way that they were in the past. Yet men still judge themselves by being a provider and a protector. In a recent survey, 86% of men and 77% of women said that being a provider defined manhood. So bear with me here with some research. Research shows that sons whose fathers are present score higher on achievement tests, get higher grades, are more empathetic, have a greater ability to engage with people, less likely to use judge, be delinquent, less likely to drop out of school, more likely to be employed as young adults. So whatever you want to say about contemporary fatherhood, fathers are extremely important. And Reeves wants fatherhood to be a national institution. Next area, men are also facing challenges in relationships, both romantic relationships and in friendships. More women than men file for divorce. Research has found that single women are happier than single men. And some men are just dropping out, saying it's not even worth the effort to kind of pursue a relationship. And many women, whether single or married, are tired of what they call man-keeping, being responsible for a man's emotional well-being. But research still shows that married people are happier than single people. Okay. Reeves criticized the left for denying any biological differences between men and women and saying masculinity is just solely a creation of a social construction. But he notes that research says that on the whole, men are more aggressive, have a higher sex drive, and engage in more risk-taking behavior. And he thinks that needs to be taken into consideration. But those traits are malleable and can be changed by culture. And there's a great deal of overlap. Some women are more aggressive than some men, et cetera, et cetera. And as I said, whatever is biologically innate can be molded and changed, sometimes for the worse rather than the best. He criticizes the right on masculinity for its big focus on biological determinism, trying to turn back the clock, and attempting to restore traditional gender roles with the many do's and don'ts of traditional masculinity. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Jesse Waters, but he's a Fox News host and the self-appointed arbiter of all things masculine. Now, he said, men, never wave with both hands. And do not go shopping with your wives or female partners. And above all, men, never be caught licking an ice cream cone in public. Because one lick and your reputation is ruined forever. But to get more serious here, have to address the influence of the internet and social media. It's really, really come on strong for a lot of boys and men. So there are lots of podcasters that are podcasting about issues of masculinity. I mean, there's Andrew Tate, kickboxer, used to be an internet star till he got charged with rape and human trafficking, both in Romania and the UK. But he still has 10 million followers on X. And probably you've heard of Joe Rogan and the Joe Rogan Experience. He has like 14.5 million followers on Spotify and 20 million followers on Instagram. So these manosphere influencers are speaking to young men who feel lost, angry, grieving, having grievances, and they've got millions of men and boys listening to them. And while they make maybe some kind of superficial positives in terms of their advice, you know, go to the gym, eat healthy, buck up, get a girlfriend, and so forth. But a lot of their podcasters, a lot of what they're saying kind of slides into dominance, control, misogyny, really, really kind of the dark side of masculinity coming to the fore here. And they are serving as models for lots of young men currently. And that is a really scary thing in my mind. So many men, not surprisingly, feel criticized by feminists and the left. And this gets pretty dicey in this area. They think the left favors the women. And, you know, the left has been saying things like, the future is female, the future is female. But if the left sees men and masculinity kind of as a suspect category, then the battle is lost already, and lots of men will just kind of move over to the right. In fact, in the last two national elections, from the 2020 to the 24, there's been a 12-point swing from men under 30 from the left to the right. So changes are happening out in the world of the manosphere and masculinity. I mean, in essence, the right says to men, hey, I like you. You know, I love you. Masculinity's good. Things are not your fault. You know. So that's kind of what's going on in that world. And when it's taken to the extreme, we get something like right-wing podcasters and even high school boys harassing women online and at the school with, some of you probably heard of this, saying to girls and women, your body, my choice. Okay. A 2023 report by the CDC from a youth risk behavior survey answered in 2021 by over 17,000 girls found that teenage girls are caught up in an overwhelming wave of violence and trauma. Out of this survey, 1 in 10 teenage girls reported being raped. 1 in 10. That needs to be front page news. That issue needs to be addressed the first month of high school, of every high school class, somewhere in the middle of the year and somewhere at the end of the school session, also prior to summer vacation. A counselor in the UK reported that an adolescent boy came to him and asked, Do I have to love porn? Another came and asked, do I have to choke her? A 2019 study found that 38% of British women under 40, that's almost 2 in 5, reported having unwanted slapping, gagging, choking, spitting during sex. Pornography is not harmless. So, Way focuses on socialization, processes that keep adolescent boys from becoming full men, having the full range of feeling. And Reeves focuses on these structural things that make life difficult for boys and men. So coming back to culture, which is kind of my specialty, in any given culture, there's an ideal man, and I want to say there's lots and lots of good men out there. And the dominant masculinity, that masculine ideal is it's unattainable for most of us. It's out of reach. It's really doesn't make much sense to have such an ideal, like the Berkeley Men's Manifesto stated. And the prominent masculinity in our culture historically has been patriarchal, a white, Christian, straight, patriarchal masculinity, characterized by dominance, the dominance of men over women, and children. But we need to be nuanced. Older men have power over younger men. Women have power over children. So in the last 80 years, women, queer people, people of color, a bunch of liberated men, we've made really some great strides in terms of dismantling that particular structure of masculinity. And pointing to a healthier masculinity. Unfortunately, as you know, what we're seeing now is a regressive masculinity. It's actually a cruel, vengeful masculinity that's operating at the highest levels of our society. And that's kind of where we are. Not kind of, that is where we are. The complexity and rapid change of the modern world can seem overwhelming. Adolescents and young men live in a world of gambling, street gangs, violent pornography, gaming, drugs, steroids, AI girlfriends, and in the near future, according to Elon Musk, AI-powered sex robots. The British 4-part series Adolescence has resulted in a great deal of discussion, and it's a wonderful series, both in the UK and elsewhere, about the susceptibility of adolescent males, both to online influencers and bullying. Even the UK Prime Minister has talked about it. So the raising of boys in the modern world is a real challenge. But parents can challenge the cultural messages of an unhealthy masculinity. We need to talk to our sons, love them, let them be who they are, educate ourselves about the online world. Needless to say, boys need to be educated about sex, their bodies, seeing girls as human beings and not sex objects. And we need to teach our adolescent boys self-regulation and impulse control, because that's a real challenge for adolescent boys. Governor Newsom has started a statewide program in California to address the needs of young men. So finally, something coming from the left. But according to Way, amazingly, I think, she says we do not need to fix boys so much as to just let them be who they are. We need to encourage boys and men to develop their natural empathy and emotional depth. What we are experiencing, she says, is not so much a crisis of masculinity, but a crisis of humanity, which is basically a crisis of connection. So she thinks boys actually know what they do, know enough to stay healthy, do well in school, and even be successful in their future lives. So, hey, to sum up, a shout out there to all you liberated guys and to all you liberated women, and to everyone. I'm going to try to do a bridge here between right and left, so hang with me. So let's affirm the positives of traditional masculinity at its best: strength, bravery, protection, provision, reliability, toughness, resolve, leadership, assertiveness, boldness, independent action. And affirm the positives of what I'm calling the new mindful masculinity: emotional intelligence, emotional openness, flexibility, nurturing parenting, self-reflection, a commitment to gender equality, a commitment to physical and mental self-care, collaboration, and staying connected to other people. And so, bringing these two positives together will create a good, full, and strong human being with a masculine flavor. And there are a whole range of flavors. There are queer, nerdy, artistic, intellectual, traditional, religious, athletic, and many other masculine flavors, including, guys, for you, your unique masculine flavor, and for me, my unique masculine flavor. Thank you all for listening.
All right, I think we got time for a few quick questions, so please wait till I get to you with the
I gotta
mic.
stay.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you so much for speaking today. I teach college, and so some of the things you were talking about are things I encounter with my students frequently. Well, not as frequently, but when it comes up, it's terrifying. And so I'm wondering if, because I have kind of pedagogical approaches from my discipline that I, like kind of a bell Hooksian pedagogy of like love and hope and respect that I try to incorporate into my praxis. But I'm wondering if there's a kind of psychological lens through which I could approach destabilizing or challenging some of these ideological frameworks that students enter my classroom with, while I also, teach the content that I need to teach. Thanks.
Well, I think it, comes down to what is emphasized in terms of a psychological approach. I think we do have to emphasize this psychological malleability and what is emphasized, and go with that and emphasize that, and really just kind of speak to that aspect of human beings, of men, of your female students. And there's a lot that comes out of that in terms of, I'm sure you have in terms of your discussions, in terms of just speaking personally from each student and emphasizing the psychological dimensions of life, of femininity, of masculinity. And you're probably doing that.
In your research, have you found what are the differences worldwide? Like, are other countries, I figure most of them are probably similar to us, but are there countries that they haven't tried to change and make men more masculine and let go of some of the humanity?
Well, one would say that, for example, all the members of ISIS, for example, are simply traumatized into this really cruel, sadistic masculinity. So there are lots of cultures that are just fighting against any form of softening, any what they call feminization. Certainly the Middle Eastern cultures, and each culture has its kind of own kind of thing on masculinity. Like Latino culture has this thing of machismo, but there are dimensions that there are sort of cracks in that also in terms of being more emotional. But I would say there are lots of cultures. Mostly, almost any culture that's not Western is really still focused on a pretty traditional, rigid masculinity. Does that answer your question? Oh, I'm sorry. There's the two cultures that are often emphasized are the Sonoy, in terms of indigenous cultures, the Sonoy and the Tahitian culture. And in both of those cultures, there's plenty of food and not a lot of threat from the world around them. And the men then are generally a lot more relaxed, a lot more passive, and there's a lot more equality. So those two cultures are often held up to the thing of saying, well, we can't go completely with biological determinism, because in these two cultures, the men are very different than in most of the cultures in the world. So those are two cultures.
Great. Well, I think Ron will be available for some questions afterwards, so thank you very much. And if you have more questions, he'll probably be out in the lobby after.
All right, thank you.
And then, real quick, I think Julie wanted to make an announcement, so I'll bring her up right here.
Okay, I was just going to talk about our awesome little volunteer sticks. I love these things. I'm going to pass these out because we've been doing super, super awesome when I pass them out. I do really need your guys' help with these. So it'd be like, oh, someone else is going to do it. I want that someone to be you, okay? So they really don't take this long. It's like vacuum the library and maybe the stage. Just spot check those areas that need it. I'm going to pass it on this side. Last time we did this side. Please don't take them home, because then it's gone forever and I have to make new ones. This is like for today, and then next time you're like, I don't like that one, I want this one. And then you can do a different one, or you're like, no, it's mine. I want to clean the bathroom. Cool? Got it? Yes? Okay, we're gonna probably maybe do this for a little while and see if we like it, and I'll have Jason update the slide. Thank you, Kyle. You're great, Vanna White. That's it. If you have questions, come see me after.
You will be voluntold and like it. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so real quick, before our musician comes back up on stage, Kansas City Oasis is a nonprofit 501c3. We're run basically by donations and our wonderful volunteers. So if you like the topics, the music, the environment, just our great community, honestly, consider donating through the kcoasis.org/donate. We've got the QR code up there, and keep in mind the recurring monthly donations really help us out the best. So I'll ask Mr. FitzGibbons, I'm just going to give up at this point, I'm sorry, to join us back on stage here. I really apologize, I'm so sorry. One last, Cashel. Cashel. Boy.
Thank you all again for coming. Thank you for listening. I need my phone for this one. This one's called Knowledge Tree. Wrote this a while ago. Also might sound a little bit similar to the previous one, but they're still distinct. So. You know, I could have sworn I had something profound to sing, but I seem to have lost it amongst the trees. But you see, the notes still ring amongst the leaves. They'll soon pass, right with the breeze. Between the lines of what fiction reads exposes clean what our proses mean. There's a hunger deep inside the psyche, fire eating all that's hiding. Desire breeds society, empire spring when dire need for fire feeding higher beings, wires tangle up our meanings, hiding thoughts inside our feelings, freely stealing what they're teaching, preaching, leeching out of meaning. We reach that point of reason, ceasing our expanding dreaming, following standard procedure. Teacher, please sir, can I be heard? Just settle down and read and rehearse. Knowledge trees harmony from farming to astronomy, astonishing for stars to read, higher feats than giants reach. To where go some I see a playground and a diary. Well, both agree, well, so it seems. Not my hollowed head, so freedom really isn't all that free when you are trapped in habits. Deep entrapment keeps on happening. These axioms keep acclimating. Planting seeds of knowledge seems exclusive to God's gardening, but harvesting a hollow dream is wasting what has got to be the greatest thing in history. The insistence of being me eternally. The world in me has just begun to start turning. Should please, sir, let me be heard. Or go to sleep if dreams are your thirst. Knowledge trees harmony from farming to astronomy, astonishing for stars to reach, for higher feats than giants dream. Knowledge trees harmony from farming to astronomy, astonishing for stars to gleam at higher feats than giants dream. Thank you very much.
All right, so now that we're at the end of the program, the Oasis lunch location today is the Graffaloon on the Plaza. So if you want to continue the conversation that we started here today with the other Oasins, The covenant on street parking is available throughout the plaza. There's several free parking spaces and garages within a short walking distance, and there's the address for you off Ward Parkway, so come join us out there and continue the conversation. Our next week's Sunday gathering, our speaker is Laurel Birchfield, who will be discussing The United We Stand, Confronting Christian Nationalism at Home. Sounds pretty important. Musical guest is going to be Jacob Duncan and Larry Stringer, aka the Redbeards, and our community moment will be Ian Deckert. So be sure to join us for that, and thank you very much for joining us today. Before you leave, please look around you, clean up a few things, check the volunteer box to see if there's anything you want to volunteer for. Thank you to our speakers, to our musicians, and everybody else. We will see you in the next one.